Today, Hall of Famer thinking Vince McMahon is still in WWE, and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Touching on his experience wrestling Undertaker, Mick Foley noted on his podcast that one of the Deadman signature moves caused him issues. I didn't hate it. The chokeslam was difficult because unlike, say, a suplex, you were absorbing that impact from your shoulders all the way down your lower back, through the buttocks and your feet, right? A chokeslam, basically, you're taking all the impact on, a small section of your back, especially in the old WWE rings before they changed them a few months after the sell. Just saying a chokeslam, if you land on one side or the other just slightly, you would feel it for a few days. I remember wrestling The Undertaker in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Just a regular chokeslam, which was not the finish. We went a few minutes more. I can feel this internal bleeding coming up, and I finished the last couple of minutes looking like Dizzy Gillespie on a hot trumpet solo, because my mouth was just full of internal blood. I made it back to the dressing room. I knew enough. I knew WWE frowned on, the blood at that time. Made it back to the dressing room and just spewed blood everywhere, just from a simple chokeslam. That's not a chokeslam on the ramp or anything of that nature, but that's the answer. That's a tough one to take, because if you take it wrong, you're going to pay for it for a few days. Revealing the original plans for his comeback match on the 27th, Ricky Steamboat told Wrestling Inc., "This match, for me to make a final decision, was 3 or 4 months in the making. I just didn't jump on it the first time I was approached from Big Time Wrestling, and I have an agent guy, Tony Hunter, who also works with Big Time Wrestling. And when I was first approached, but FTR, when I was first approached were heels. There were going to be 2 guys on the other side of the ring that I was going to be wrestling. AEW turned the baby faces, turned them good guy. So they said, we can't have heels working against you, Ricky, you're a baby face. So what would you think if we had them as your partners?" I thought it was great too, because they were at the school for WWE back in the day when I was a trainer, and I'd work with them in the ring, and I know they're good hands, and I'm glad how they've grown in the business with AEW. So the adversaries, the Jay Lethal and then old Arn Anderson's boy Brock, and they still got a mystery partner, and I haven't been privy to the mystery partner. Can you believe this? It's coming up this week. With Teddy Hart set to be the star of a series regarding his relation to the disappearance of a woman, Brian Pillman Jr. would note that he stopped speaking to Hart, telling Wrestling Inc. this about his former tag team partner. "I kind of just stopped communicating with him, and I kind of cut him off quite a while ago, and most people have commended that decision. They said you're smart for doing that. I love them to death. Of course, I love the Hart family, and they've done so good by me. Teddy is sort of the big elephant in the room when it comes to the family and everything, and I've just made it abundantly clear to everybody that I don't associate with him anymore, just based off of my experiences with him in MLW. I've made these decisions long before the documentary came out, right? I wanted to separate myself from Teddy and hoped that he would get help. I just didn't want to keep his wrestling going. I didn't want to keep getting him booked and keep having him a part of my stable. If he's just going to be Teddy, right?" During an interview with Just Alex, Maria Kanellis revealed that she did have talks with WWE prior to signing with AEW. "We definitely communicated with Triple H as our contracts were coming up with Impact Wrestling. And so we did that, that courtesy conversation, and it went really well. And at the end of the day, I think AEW is the place that we belong." When speaking on Howie Mandel's show, Chris Jericho touched on a supernatural event that occurred on his drive home. "I've had time displacement. It's when you can't account for a certain stretch of time. It's when you get abducted. I was driving home on a country road, and it should have taken me about an hour to get home, and instead of getting home at 2 a.m., I got home at 5 p.m. I still don't know what happened. I don't know. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs or anything. There is just a big chunk of time missing. I should probably go to a hypnotist and see what happened, if there was any abduction. I've had time displacement. Here's another one. I did a show for the Travel Channel called Chris Jericho Hunting Monsters. We went to the Louisiana Bayou to look for a Louisiana werewolf. When we were there was a voodoo priest who put a curse on a town in the 20s. When she put a curse on the town, this is real, a hurricane came and killed 50 people. They have a mass grave in the middle of the swamp. We were out there and I had a machete. I was cutting through the swamp and we got to the mass burial ground. I put the machete in the ground. They had the ghost hunters there with the thing where they can scan you and the lights come on if something is attached to you. These guys were scanning me and it was going full on DEFCON green right on my arm. I was like, let me see this thing. Is there a button you're pushing? No, I do it to myself and it's blinking. Then I started feeling queasy, like I had been on a roller coaster. This is not good. I have to get out of here. This is really bad. I pulled the machete out of the ground and it went away. I'm wondering if maybe when I put that machete in the ground, it made somebody mad that was buried there. I felt some weird going on in my body. I talked to a shaman and they were like, it happens. You get spirits attached to you and you have to be cleansed. It's pretty out there. But when you're there and it's 3 in the morning and you feel something weird going on and you know it's not normal, it's hard to explain it. Taking to Instagram, The Miz explained how he injured himself slapping a cactus. Here's the clip.
People have been claiming that I've been lying on how I injured my hand slicing through a cactus. I had so many injuries on my fantasy football team that I was kicking, swiping. Will you stop imitating me? It's really imitating. You are being so annoying. Oh my gosh. Ow! Oh! My hand. Oh, I hurt it again. It's really bad.
On Twitter, Cody Rhodes revealed his heartwarming interaction with someone at a store prior to Thanksgiving as he wrote, "Last minute trip to the store this morning and Apple Pay wasn't accepted. Dude behind me bailed me out. Very thankful. I'd love to return the favor to somebody not having their best day or in need." Suggestions? Speaking to On the Grind, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair revealed that she makes her own wrestling gear, saying, "I would say sewing really eases my mental health. I sew all the time. I sew and make all of my wrestling gear. And when I'm home, when I'm feeling nervous or anxious about an upcoming match, I like to sew. Puts me at ease. Makes me feel accomplished. I mean, I'm in the ring. Sitting across from my opponent, I'm like, I made my gear. What did you do? You can't just make an outfit and go out there and have a wrestling match because the whole thing will fall apart. The fabric has to be stretchy. It has to be durable. It has to be functional. It's not just fashionable. I've had a couple of times when I've been scared. I've had to sew my gear on me and we're taping it. I'm taping it on my body. And sometimes I'll put it on and I'll do a couple jumping jacks and some squats. I'm like, all right, I think it's good. Let's pray it holds up. Let's pray we never have a wardrobe malfunction. For me, on match day, I get very antsy. I get nervous, but I've learned to embrace that nervousness. I can't sit still, so I don't like to get my makeup done. I like to do my own makeup. I have to do something with my fingers, so I do my own makeup. I do my own hair. Sometimes I'm actually sewing gear in the locker room, not necessarily because I need to, but because I just need to do something with my hands. It calms me. It's like meditation for me. Touching on his time managing CM Punk in WWE, Paul Heyman recalled how he was on the wrong end of backstage heat, saying to Inside the Ropes, "We had a situation in Chicago where Punk had walked out. We were heading into WrestleMania, and the audience in Chicago is going to hijack the show, and they're going to chant CM Punk for 3 hours. Everybody had to settle with it. The audience is going to take over the show, and there's not a thing we can do about it." And because it's always easy to blame the Jew boy from New York, Vince McMahon looks over me and says, "See the trouble your friend causes?" So I went out into this passionate, angry Chicago crowd, pissed off that their hero was no longer in the company, and I lured them in. As LA Knight is coming into his own on the main roster, a report provided an update on the star's prospects for winning Money in the Bank, as an anonymous source told Fightful, "I like LA Knight, but we don't have definitive plans across the board 4 months down the line, much less next year's Money in the Bank. If we wanted it on him so bad, it wouldn't have been hard to take Austin Theories to put on him. I've never heard him discussed in the same conversation as Money in the Bank. Not that it couldn't happen, because he's a great performer, but it's not been discussed." Clarifying how she got cleared to return for in-ring competition, Saraya explained on the AEW Unrestricted podcast that, "I feel I have to clear this up because I feel like the internet just creates their own stories about how I was cleared and who cleared me. So people think I went to multiple doctors. I didn't. I went to one doctor. You know, AEW doctors, Dr. Sampson and also Tony Khan, they were like, we can't let you wrestle until we know you are 1,000% cleared. They did it the right way." She would also add that she wants to get her family on AEW's UK event, saying, "I would love, since I have a family of wrestlers, please, we have to get my brother Zach. Zach has never made it and it's so frustrating. He's tried so hard. We need to get him on an AEW Dark show or something like that so we can showcase him. He just did New Japan. People loved him. They're bringing him back again. He got such a great reaction when he walked out. People didn't know who he was at first, and then they said Zach Zodiac, and everyone was like, yes, it gave me chills. I would love for my brother to eventually be in AEW and my nephew, Ricky Knight Jr., my nephew Patrick. A whole family thing. Going over to the UK, I'm like, yes, I will plug them and try to get them on the Dark show." When asked about the status of former chairman and CEO of WWE, Vince McMahon, Sergeant Slaughter told Sportskeeda that, "I feel that Vince McMahon is still there and there's no way to keep him away as far as his knowledge of the business goes. If it wasn't for his knowledge, a lot of us wouldn't be doing the things we're doing today. I wish him all the best. He's always been a good friend to me, and then he became a boss, and then he became a friend again. To me, he was a part of my life and is the reason I'm sitting here talking to you along with Harley Race." Putting out an offer for fans to put all of his matches together throughout his career, Matt Cardona told Inside the Ropes 1500, "I don't have a lot of regrets because you can't live in the past, but my number one regret in pro wrestling is not just keeping a notebook of every match and where it was. How easy would that have been? There's no way to do it. I will say this, if there is a fan listening, if they can do it, and there is no way to prove it's 100% accurate, but if they can accurately list every single match I've ever had, I'm talking live events, indies, whatever, I will give them $1,000 PayPal. Friends and family, if they can do it, I think there are going to be inaccuracies, but I'd love to see people try. I will give $1,000 PayPal, friends and family, so there are no fees, to whoever does the best job." Recalling his match against Savio Vega at a WWE house show, Dustin Rhodes told Talk Is Jericho why he feared getting fired after this. "But I liked it when Vince was on the road. It wasn't a TV setting, right? It was just a house show. You'd show up and it was like he was at the curtain and I'm like, Vince is here. What if I do this? Am I gonna get fired or whatever?" And so Savio Vega was like, come on, let's do this. And it was just a simple go behind him, rub up his chest and down his legs, kind of not grazing as you know, and he turned around and charged me and they went nuts. I'm like, we lock up and he takes me back at the corner. I'm like, what are we doing, man? And he said to turn around, stick your ass in my crotch and rub it back. And I did it. And he pushed me away, but I was really scared to do that. That was something that was way out of my wheelhouse. Talking about Logan Paul's title shot against Roman Reigns from Crown Jewel, Paul Heyman said on After the Belt, "You know, the entire concept would be who really fits with our product, who has product knowledge, who can speak eloquently about what we do, and what will they say after their experience here. It does us no good to bring somebody in and we spend all this time and money and network television time and put our promotional machine behind somebody and then they go and write a book and say what a time I had in WWE. That doesn't do us any good. The idea is to find people that will have some sort of appreciation of the art form that is being displayed here on a nightly basis. Look at his match with The Miz. He came to play. This wasn't just a matter of someone saying, okay, what can I get away with doing? This was someone who wanted to put on a show. This is someone who wanted his match judged against all other matches on the show. And the show was SummerSlam, so it was a pretty damn big event. And he was competitive with everyone else on the show, trying to have the best match of the night, trying to entertain the audience more than any other of the featured attractions. It says a lot. It's not someone who's going, okay, just tell me what I need to know, and okay, I'll try not to screw it up. This was someone who came to compete with everybody else on the roster. That's really impressive. That's somebody who wants it. That's someone who takes this seriously. That's the one who can go to WWE and say, if I hit that one lucky punch, I become the champion. You got me 365 days a year to promote this thing. Because I'll be someone that will not be, he wouldn't be a David Arquette with the title. He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be a disgrace. He takes it very seriously. Talking about his issues with actor Jonah Hill once hosting Raw as a guest, general manager Mick Foley said on his podcast he's not a wrestling fan. There was a reason why Jonah Hill was advertised as the guest GM and it never aired. The guys hated working with him. There were some like Hugh Jackman, Dynamite, The Muppets. They loved it. Almost everyone was a good experience. Jonah Hill was one that didn't even make the air because he apparently just didn't want to be there and it showed. I think somebody saw him mouthing to his agent, "Get me out of here." Speaking about the positive reaction from fans to his role as the honorary Uso of the Bloodline, Sami Zayn told After the Bell, "It's not something you predict ahead of time. It's not something that you want to see or would think would make sense, but in the execution it has worked. The concept is a bit strange. All the Bloodline is a family, and here's this one person who is clearly not family. The whole thing doesn't make sense on paper, but it's the perfect example of when things work in execution more than they do on paper. All the Bloodline is a family, and here's this person who is clearly not family. I'm not entirely surprised at the success of the segments that we've done, but it has still exceeded my expectations. I knew it would be good, but I didn't think that fans would take to it the way they have." When asked about potentially turning heel on the main roster, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair said to WrestleRant that, "I don't know, I feel like I have so many a positive impact in walking out and seeing the signs and seeing the kids. People coming up to me saying, 'You inspire me.' To have that connection with people and to think about maybe possibly turning on people is like me turning on them, and maybe." Recalling advice that Chris Jericho gave to her NXT Women's Champ Mandy Rose told Chris Van Vliet on Insight, but then people pulling me aside, Lita and Chris Jericho and telling me, "Listen, you're in a reality show. You could probably play you really should do that." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" That's when I started to kind of show that and really started getting notoriety and people actually started talking about me. With many fans thinking her recent in-ring gear was a tribute to Nikki Bella, Rose would clarify during that same interview, "I had the outfit on backstage. Obviously, we were all saying it, and I was like, okay, do I look way too much like Nikki right now? I'm definitely going to get ripped on the internet," but everyone was like, "Yeah, who cares? You were like, owing to her legacy, right?" I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So yeah, and that's what happened. We knew the internet was going to go there. When asked if she would face Nikki Bella, Rose replied, "We have a little bit of similar backgrounds in the sense because she obviously had paved the way for us, definitely during the Divas time, the Women's Revolution, and all that. So I feel like there's some kind of similarity with the both of us because she wants to have people respect her more, and she did gain that respect over the years. But in the beginning, it wasn't maybe so much like that. So there is a little story there." While there are reports that WWE has reached out to Steve Austin about taking part in a match at WrestleMania next year, the same cannot be said for Brock Lesnar, as Ringside News wrote. The road to WrestleMania is starting in a matter of weeks. We've heard an idea about a Brock Lesnar match with Gunther, but nothing is official. There are many ideas since Lesnar hasn't been pitched a match yet. Giving an update on plans for Bray Wyatt, Fightful reported that LA Knight was set to sell injuries from the Bray Wyatt attack on SmackDown pretty heavily. Several Bray Wyatt masks are being brought to the show. Talking about the previously mentioned feud between LA Knight and Bray Wyatt on SmackDown, Booker T said this about it on his Hall of Fame podcast. "You know what? That's the match I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how it plays out. I said Bray Wyatt coming back has to be a different Bray Wyatt, and I think, to my point, we've seen a different Bray Wyatt. I think we're going to get a chance to see Bray, more importantly, go out and perform. We're going to see him go out and work. I think that's the one thing people always try to hold against Bray Wyatt. They always talk about his characters. They never really talk about his performances. I think Bray Wyatt has a chance to reinvent himself. The character's only going to go so far. You got to give me the payoff." Taking to Twitter for his ref and rant, former WWE official Jimmy Cordeiro said this about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks seemingly trolling CM Punk during their recent match in AEW.
I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, but just because it's Black Friday doesn't mean the rants stop here. Hello everyone, former sports entertainment referee Jimmy Corderas with your Ref and Rant for today. You can get your Ref and Rant t-shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com. Unless you want it in video form, hit me up on Cameo and get one there. Back to Wednesday night. Look, I get it. It happens all the time when there are personal things that go on backstage and guys take it out into the ring and have a little fun and play a little gaga, and they do these little things. In the trios match, for example, you had the Elite versus Death Triangle. The Elite guys, especially Kenny Omega, doing little things to take jabs at CM Punk. Well, I don't have to explain what they were. You know exactly what they were. It pops that crowd that is into that sort of thing. But at the same time, what are people talking about after the match? Not what they're supposed to be talking about, which was Phoenix using the hammer for the Death Triangle to go up 2-0 in their best of 7 series. That's what people should be talking about. Not about all the ha-ha and gaga that was going on, taking the jabs at CM Punk.
Detailing her first promo in AEW after making a return to pro wrestling, Saraya noted on the Unrestricted podcast. I will tell you though, the second week when I did the promo, which wasn't the best promo I ever did, and I was really disappointed in it, I realized how crazy the internet community can be. I even, in my head at that point, was like, did I make a mistake coming back? And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.